Quotes. Looking out for the planet. Spoken word in the form of quotes. The importance of thinking for ourselves. So many quotes. Reimaginings of the Lord's Prayer. Milton, Dostoevsky, Twain, Poe, and the great bard himself, Shakespeare. I finally get to do some Shakespeare. Rotting Christ are back with the Heretics. Get ready for quotes and a half. I was born for this. Hello. Now, very quickly before I get started, just a quick plug for my Instagram account, freetobewhoibe. Of course, if you haven't checked it out already, go check it out. I'm going to start doing very short comedic videos on there if you're intrigued in that sort of thing. There's some photography up there as well, but who gives a shit? So, Rotting Christ are back with their 13th studio album, and this is their first since 2016's Rituals. Yet again, this is an indication of just how much music I have never explored. This is a band that's been going since 1987, hailing from Greece, with their two ever-present members, brothers Sakis Tolis on guitars and vocals and Themis Tolis on drums, making this another one of those rockular bands with the unified drum, guitar, vocal style sort of combo of the brotherly siblings. Oh, I butchered that. And they are also joined by George Emanuel on lead guitar and Vangelis Karzis on bass. Before I get stuck, bit my fucking tongue. Before I start looking at the songs themselves, I just want to quickly read out something that Sakis Tolis had to say to Metal Wani. I composed this album because I think that there are some acts, authors, some writers that during the history of time that were guided by church, like Heretics. Some pick quotes during the history that are quite similar to what we are doing nowadays. Those people were called heretics. I think we are also heretics. I love this feeling. I don't know, maybe not in England because England is quite open-minded. That's very nice of you. Although I would have said England, I'm shy of myself. But we consider ourselves fixed. This is the path I choose, and I composed this album like this and called it like this. The Heretics. Bit of broken English. Heretics, I believe, are defined as those who had opinions and beliefs contrary to that of the church. Heretic. Fucking heretic. Dirty bastards. So, without further fudge, let's go look at the tunes. We've also got a fudge load of quotes to get through as well. First up we have In the Name of God, and this one starts out with a quote from Dostoevsky, more specifically from the brothers Karamazov. Since man cannot live without miracles, he will provide himself miracles of his own making. He will believe in witchcraft and sorcery, even though he may otherwise be a heretic, an atheist, a rebel. Song starts out with some militaristic, mid-paced, symphonic black metal. The vocals are aggressive, but there's a nice melodicism there, and there's a use of Gregorian-style chanting, which is all throughout this album and really adds an amazing atmosphere. Flames, in the age of hell, in the age of fire. War, in the name of God, in the Holy Empire. Burn the witch in pyre. This is everything that I love about black metal. Heavy, aggressive, but with a richness and melody that gives it a real sense of art. Also contained within the tune are quotes from Mark Twain and Friedrich Nietzsche, but I haven't got time for everything, I can't do everything. Next up we have Vetry Zyle. Some double bass drumming kicks this one off before some tremolo picked guitar joins in. Sakis is joined by female vocalist Irae Sabina, and the combination of their vocals really works well together. Pray for the earth, for the forest, for the fire. Call all the spirits of the globe and desire all power that comes from within. We get more of that Gregorian chanting throughout the song, and Themis keeps up the great pace behind the kit. Now there's a lot of spoken word bits throughout this, and it's mainly the quotes. And on the end of this one we have a reworking of something written by a guy called John Muir, who was a founder of the Sierra Club, who were dedicated to enjoying and protecting our wonderful planet. In our eternal touch with the nature, we see communions of life and death. We see their joyous, inseparable unity. We learn that life is as beautiful as death. Next up we have Heaven and Hell and Fire. Another mid-paced, down-picked chuggathon with a eerie emphasis on the Gregorian chant. A lot of eerie atmosphere in this one. George Emanuel gets a chance to shine a little more in this tune. There's a lot of really nice melodic guitar lines peppered throughout this one. There's a great little lead in there as well. This one explores the power of one's own mind and the sovereignty of which we must all struggle to maintain. Starts out with another quote, this time from John Milton's Paradise Lost. A very entertaining read. The mind is universe and can make a heaven of hell. A hell of heaven. And the song ends with a line inspired by Thomas Paine. I do not believe in the creed professed by the church, by any church that I know. My own mind is my own church. A very eerie, slow, plodding drumline sees us into this one, along with some ringing chords. Ringing out. This one almost has a reimagining of the Lord's Prayer. Hallowed be thy name, hallowed be the fire, hallowed be thy name, flames and pyre. The Gregorian chanting is very prevalent on this one, and it works really well. Absolutely loving the atmosphere on this album. Things change up a bit for the bridge section before the song ends with some final words from Shakespeare's The Winter Tale. The wording is slightly different on the album, but I shall quote the bard. I care not, it is an heretic that makes the fire, not she which burns in it. I'll not call you tyrant, but this most cruel usage of your queen, not able to produce more accusation than your own weak-hinged fancy something savours. Tyranny and will ignoble make you, yea, scandalous to the world. It may actually shock some of you to know that I'm not actually classically trained. Shocking. I'm sure all of you can imagine at this point just how weird that must have looked to anybody watching me do that. Next up we have Deus Irae. Probably said that one wrong as well. A more pummeling rhythmic riff starts off this tune, and it has a kind of an ancient sounding quality that is very pleasing to the ear, as does the whole album, to be fair. In Latin this one means day of wrath, and apparently this was an old poem that described the last judgment trumpet. This would be what would summon souls to be judged of whether they'd be going to heaven or hell. Always cheery religion. Of course I'm fluent in Latin, but for this one I'll just give you the translated version. Oh, what fears man bosoms rendeth, when from heaven the judge descendeth, on whose sentence all dependeth. I believe there was some more Milton's Paradise Lost. I can't do all the quotes. Next up we have I Believe, and this is more of a straight up black metal song. I've seen a few reviews where people have said that this one kind of stood out, and not in a good way. I kind of know what they mean. The rest of the album has this real symphonic, real dark atmosphere that just really works well. This is just kind of a standard black metal tune, really. It's not a bad song at all. It just kind of doesn't necessarily fit. It is worth mentioning, however, that the lyrics to the song are sung and spoken in Greek, and I think they're from The Last Temptation of Christ by Nikos Kazantzakis. Next up is Fire, God and Fear. A slow, almost ambient intro on this one that takes a good 30 seconds before we get a spoken word piece, this time quoting Voltaire. Those who can make you believe absurdities can make you commit atrocities. The riff kicks in and it's a more traditional black metal chord type pattern, and the drums have a real snap and intent, a kind of focus that really drives the song. There is a brief refrain with what sounds like bass swells, courtesy of Vangelis Karsus, and a really cool melodic solo from George Emanuel. I have to say I enjoyed this one a lot. Next up we have The Voice of the Universe. A creepy vocal intro sets this one off with this almost tribal percussive kind of riff that takes us through the tune. And there's some more of Emanuel's really nice melodic guitar lines peppered throughout this tune as well. The lyrics in this tune are in English, Arabic and Latin. Talented guy this Tarkus be. But the lyrics that I can understand seem to deal with the same theme that permeates this album, that of freedom of thought, thinking for oneself, the sovereignty of one's own mind, as well as more influence from Milton's Paradise Lost. Awake, arise, or be forever fallen, long is the way and hard, that out of hell leads up to light. I won't serve again. I will reign again. I will reign in hell and not serve in heaven. Another really good tune. Penultimate track, at least on the standard edition, is The New Messiah, another mid-paced, glorious symphonic black metal tune with more than a hint of goth metal in there as well. Very Peter Steele-esque. This one deals with false prophets, and more specifically, in my opinion at least, televangelists, politicians and radical extremists. Hey, God intends to light your way with fire. Neo-Messiah, Neo-Messiah, save my sinful soul and show the faith with pyre. Neo-Messiah, Neo-Messiah, Lord and liar. But I think the most telling part is is the end quote from Matthew 24:11. And many false prophets will arise and lead many astray. I loved this one. And then we get The Raven, the final song on the album, or at least the standard edition. This one flits between verses of original lyrics intertwined with a retelling of Edgar Allan Poe's classic, The Raven. And I'm not going to be reciting that one. Prophet, said I, thing of evil. Prophet still, if bird or devil. Or whether temper tossed thee here ashore. Desolate, yet all undaunted. On this desert land enchanted. On his home by horror haunted. Tell me truly, I implore. Is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the Raven, nevermore. Theatre bound I am not. I have to confess, when I first heard this song, I kind of didn't really take it that seriously. It sounded kind of a bit hokey to me, but I have to say it really did not take many listens for me to completely get on board with this one. Really enjoyed it. Great close to the album. Just really fun to listen to. Awesome. Really loved it. It's also worth pointing out that on the deluxe edition there are 2 bonus tracks, The Sons of Hell, parts 1 and 2, and again, 2 great songs. I don't actually have a physical copy of the album. The only edition of it I could see cost like £26 for the deluxe edition CD, of which I do not have money at the moment, so I couldn't get it, but very unfortunate because it looks a really decent package. In terms of a score, I'm going to give this one a 9 out of 10. Genuinely was blown away by this album. I very nearly didn't review it. Black metal is a bit hit and miss with me. I either love it or I hate it, and it can either be arduous listening to it or it can be a complete joy, and this was totally the latter. I absolutely loved this album. Without a shadow of a doubt, this is already a strong contender for album of the year. I'll be interested to see where this one sits at the end of the year for me. But Rotting Christ, another one of those bands who've been around for decades, I've never checked out, and yeah, I was just blown away by this album. Absolutely amazing. If you haven't checked this one out, check it out. I think you're going to enjoy this one. So after that rather laborious review, I think I'm done with today's video, but I'm going to film a couple more now. Should have quite a lot of videos coming out over the next few weeks. Tomorrow I'm hoping to have a very brief review out for the new Wild Hearts single, Dislocated. I've just found out they've got a new album coming out in May, I believe. Huge Wild Hearts fan. After many requests, I've finally done a review of Puppy, the Goat. That's an album that came out in January. Been getting a lot of attention. A lot of people have been asking my thoughts on it, so there'll be a review for that as well. Next week we've got a lot coming out. We've got the new Dream Theater album, which I'm definitely 100% going to be reviewing. 3 songs have been released from that so far, and I've loved all 3. Devin Townsend is releasing the first single from his upcoming Empath album, and I believe it's going to be called Genesis. I haven't decided yet whether I'm going to do a reaction video or one of my single reviews, so I'll see how I feel about that. I'd like to do a reaction video at some point, but at the same time I do find them somewhat lazy. We also have Lennon and the Claypool Delirium. I've got a lot to get on with, so I'm going to head off. Check out my Instagram, freetobewhoibe, and blah, 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 blah.